Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the Leadership Doctors, Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL Resilience Framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out. The Leadership Doctors alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water succinctly, creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in the Leadership Doctors to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website. Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the Leadership Doctors, Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. The Leadership Doctors alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 135 of the REALL Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate with your very own Leadership Doctors, HERS, home of the Resilience Framework. I'm Dr. Sheka Houston.
And I am Dr. Tammy Taylor. Good morning to everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. Good morning, Sheka.
Good morning, Tammy. And you can't tell because we have virtual backgrounds, but Tammy and I are joining you from the Big Apple. We're still in New York. We're actually getting ready to go catch our flight. And that's why we weren't on with Principal Hurt this morning, but we will go back and catch that episode because we know he always drops gems.
Always.
But good morning to everyone. And let's see who we have with us. Good morning to Mr. Richard Davis. Deidre Stover, good morning. I didn't find that bunt store, Deidre. Good morning, Real Purposeful. Good morning, Miss Donna. Melissa Jones Chunu, good morning. Good morning, Michelle. Miss Dot McKeever Jeter, good morning. Good morning, Josh Tovar. Miss Lynette Wilson, good morning. September Devon Vance Daniels, good morning. And the GOAT is with us, Principal Kafele, and we've had the pleasure of seeing Principal Kafele here at the Innovative Schools Conference. You all know he brought the fire.
Be
And
fire. We were all on fire.
we got to hang out with Principal Kafele yesterday. So we are truly grateful for him and all of the knowledge that he dropped. We are all really still on fire from that.
That's what I'm doing on the plane ride home. I'm going back through all my notes.
Good morning, Principal Hurt. And let's see, did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. Good morning, Miss Simpson Lackert. Good morning, Marguerite Simpson Lackert and Leslie Lyles. Good morning. So, each week we start with you all dropping some type of emoji or testimonial to let us know how you have kept it real all week. And you heard in the promo that REAL stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. That's our framework. Shout out to Miss September Devon Vance Daniels, who presented 3 Black History Month programs last week. And Dr. Roz Gaskins, who danced with her cheerleaders during the school's Black History program. That's how they kept it real
Love it.
last week. So post those moments because we love to shout you out and we love to hear about it. So, as you know, I just stated what REAL stands for is from our framework, and it's not just a catchy phrase. It's actually rooted in the improvement correlates developed by Ron Edmonds. He was an improvement specialist, and that's Dr. Ron Edmonds, who refuted the 1966 Coleman report that African American students could not learn at the same rates as their white peers. So his research found common characteristics among schools that were 90% African American, 90% proficient, and 90% poverty, where they were doing very well. And from those characteristics, he framed and coined what he calls correlates. And that is what our framework is rooted in.
Yes, our framework actually connects that research that Dr. Ron Edmonds did to put it into terminology that is easier for leaders to provide support to their staffs with. It helps the leaders to organize everyday tasks and things that have to happen in a school each day. And it's easy to organize all that around those principles that were laid forth at the correlates. Teachers can easily organize the tasks that are happening in their classrooms around the correlates, and students can organize themselves around those very same principles.
Most definitely. So that brings us to our topic for today, and we are going to continue to keep it real with our framework. We're going to be talking about real strategies for successful outcomes of Black girls. And yesterday was March the 1st. It is the start of Women's History Month. So shout out to all of our ladies. And the reason why we're talking about this is because this research about the adultification of Black girls actually lends itself to also hearing about some of the lived experiences of Black women, and these things that are happening in some cases to young Black girls are starting as early as 5 years old. So we want to bring awareness to this and make sure that we know how to make sure this isn't happening in our schools. So this is a 2 minute short clip that is going to give us some more background.
Black girls need less nurturing, less protection, less support, less comfort. They know more about adult topics, including sex. New research shows these beliefs are widely held in the United States. A groundbreaking report from Georgetown Law's Center on Poverty and Inequality finds that adults view Black girls as less innocent and more adult-like than their white peers. The study builds on previous research that found adults view Black boys as less innocent than white boys, starting at age 10. The new study is the first to focus on girls and find significant adultification bias against Black girls as young as 5 and rising through age 14. The findings may help explain why Black girls face harsher treatment than white girls, both in school and in the juvenile justice system. Black girls are 5 times more likely to be suspended than white girls and are punished more for minor subjective offenses like dress code violations, disobedience, and disruptive behavior. Schools are more likely to call the police on Black girls. White girls account for half of all girls in school, but only a third of the girls referred to police and 30% of the girls arrested. Black girls are less than 16% of girls in school, but account for 28% of police referrals and 37% of arrests. Past research has shown prosecutors drop 7 out of 10 cases against white girls, while only dropping 3 out of 10 against Black girls. This data suggests bias plays a role when officials exercise discretion. Now, the new evidence that adults see Black girls as needing less comfort and less protection begs the question: how can we ensure that stereotypes of Black women as combative and hypersexualized don't reach into our schools and playgrounds and erase childhood for Black girls?
And that erasure of Black girls, their innocence, that's a travesty. And that's something that we want to make sure that that's not happening. So we start with that R of our framework, respect. We have to first make sure that we are aware of what is happening. We have to keep ourselves on the cutting edge of knowing the most recent research. And once we find out what that research is, like this study that has been done, we have to make sure that we are inspecting, as Principal Kafele teaches us, to look in our mirror to make sure we're examining our own practices for ourselves. And also, when you're responsible for a large number of children at your school, what does that look like? So I do want to read some of the comments from some of the research that was made by some of the young ladies so you can hear examples of what this sounds like from the voice of young girls. I once wore leggings to school, and my teachers called me aside that it was inappropriate dressing. Meanwhile, all of my white friends always wear leggings, and they have never called them aside. Mentally, it doesn't feel right to be treated differently. I am of the same age of my peers. I find it unfair. Black girl, 14 years old. And this is the second one. I feel like I have to look really happy, like I'm not angry or sad, not just in school, but in any place outside. If I am sad about something, I try not to look it to so people don't make assumptions or assume how I'm feeling. People usually think that Black people are angry or want they just want to start something. I don't want to seem unapproachable, so I just try and do that. Black girl, 13 years old. So this is so disheartening because you're not even allowed to have real feelings and emotions because you're afraid of what the perception of you will be as young as 13 years old. So we have to make sure again that we're acknowledging that this is happening. And it's not just happening at schools, it's happening in homes by parents. There were some examples about a young lady who was asked by her mom, she had brothers, to clean out the car. She cleaned out the car. The mom and the brothers took the car, dirtied the car up, and so she felt like it was a no regard, but she felt like she was being asked to do more domestic chores than her brothers because of sometimes role assumptions and responsibilities. So sometimes young girls are being robbed of their innocence at home. Not to say that girls should not be doing chores, but what they shouldn't be doing are taking the place or the role of the mother in a home where there's multiple children, because and then that way her childhood is taken away from her, where she's cooking dinner and washing all the clothes and doing all of the things that could be the responsible of other adults in the home, just because your child is there. So we want adultification to be acknowledged, that this happens at school, but also in homes, and it should not be something that's happening.
And I think one thing that is worthy of us speaking to, because the research that's one set of research that Sheka referenced, but there are even newer studies where those statistics are going up, and now it's 6% of Black girls being suspended over their white counterparts. And these are kids who are being suspended, expelled, or just pushed out of school altogether. And oftentimes the reason that we want to spotlight this and bring awareness is you hear this kind of conversation sometimes surrounding Black boys, because that's very true. These things are happening to our Black boys also, but the new addition to that, and what's very startling about it, is the statistics are indicating that now girls are being thrust into those positions at even higher rates, because Sheka made mention of this when she shared the 14-year-old's comment about her leggings. She is looked at and viewed differently in her leggings than her white counterparts, possibly because sometimes our children, our Black girls, mature more quickly. They act older, and sometimes they look older than what they are, and those are things that they're being judged by people who should be trying to protect the innocence of their lives, but they are faced with adultification bias, and that creates a whole set of issues for them. Now, what happens, and she could spoke to you from the respect aspect of things from our framework, what happens is sometimes when girls disengage and they shrink back, which we don't want, we always are preaching that we want Black women to be authentic about who they are. We want them to be and be able to be who they are and be themselves authentically. But you have kids now who are shying away from being who they are because they don't want to be they don't want any misconceptions about what I'm thinking, because if I'm deep in thought and I have a scowl on my face, somebody thinks that I'm mad about something. So we have to be very careful of that, because what happens is there becomes this invisibility, and it's not necessarily intended from the people who are creating the scenario, but the girls want to be invisible. They don't want you to see them. They don't want to talk about what is going on around them because they feel very uncomfortable with who they actually are, and this impacts them academically. So when you talk about excellence, which is the next part of our framework, you want to think about the things that we can do to promote that spirit of excellence within our Black girls. And a few of the things that we can do is at the beginning of that, start with empowering them and encouraging them. We need to get to know them, know what their strengths are, and then pour into them to be able to use those strengths to make them okay with who they are, help them to show up and be okay. It's, I mean, I'm sorry that you think I'm angry. I'm not. It's just, I'm having one of those days, just like everyone else. But we need to be able to pour into those. And then we also need to be able to expose and extend them, like give them opportunities to learn and to grow by providing mentorship, helping them to understand, honey, it is fine to be just who you are. Let people learn to appreciate and love you for you, because when you start that creating for them opportunities to shrink away from themselves, that allows them to become, or makes them think it's okay for people to walk over you. And you want to empower them to have expectations that make people understand that I am to be respected, and I need to be loved and coddled and cared for and nurtured just like everybody else. So the thing that I'll say, and this is something that we shout out to the boss educator who
Yes.
really brought it this week. She talked about making sure that we love our kids. So that's what we're going to lead the excellence with. Love them, and love them genuinely, because her thing is, and this we all agree, when the children know that you care about them, you can reach them. And if you are at that place where you have access to young Black girls, get in there and mentor them, pour into them so that they become very impactful young women.
Most definitely. And yes, Dr. LaQuanta Nelson, boss educator, brought the fire over here at Innovative Schools.
She did.
And I love the fact that she shared about her, how she felt about her dialect or her Southern twang, because that's a thing that I've battled as well. And that dialect doesn't determine intellect. I love that. But keeping in the framework, as we are still talking about the adultification of Black girls, the next part is accountability. And with us having this information, it's important for us to make sure that we are accountable for making other people aware about it. We are accountable for assessing ourselves with where we are with this. And I try to make sure that I do not take away my children's, I have 2 daughters, childhood with an over bombarding of things that I should be doing or another adult should be doing in our home. So, they do have their chores, but I don't over extend that. They're still able to be 9 and 12 years old. So we have to make sure that that happens. But in our schools, we have to make sure that other adults are aware of this research. And when we are aware of the research, and we have to take that mirror that Principal Kafele tells us about, we have to examine. So let's look at our offenses for African American young girls in our schools and African American boys, and what does that look like in comparison to their counterparts? Is there adult bias here? And when people understand that this is a thing, then they could be, more aware to examine themselves. The other people that we have to make sure understand what this is are our children. Because when something's happening to you and you don't know how to name the thing, then it creates something inside of you to where you're not even sure of how to feel. That broke my heart when the young lady said she does, even if she's sad, she doesn't
Smile.
try to make herself look like she's happy. To be robbed of how you feel, your emotions, that is not even allowing you to be who you are. It's robbing you of yourself. So we have to make sure that our girls understand that this is a thing and it's not okay.
Right.
And how to navigate that.
Exactly. The other part of our framework that we definitely want to address this morning is the literacy piece, because the growing number of young girls that are becoming functionally illiterate goes back to the numbers of them that are being pushed out of schools. They have this Black Girl Literacy Project that is something that you should just kind of take notice of. We don't have time to go into details for it with it this morning, but just take a look at that, because it's very interesting to see how some people, and it's out of Philadelphia, some of that work is, you want to see how some people are embracing the fact that you can allow young Black girls, just like young Black boys to see their relevance by being able to see themselves and making sure that they're given the opportunity to have exposure to text that's representative, to give them opportunities to read, to write, to express themselves through poetry. But also, it included singing and TikTok dancing and all of those things that are a part of culturally sometimes who we are, that are where our giftedness lies. Many times we have to embrace and understand that it isn't just about checking out a book from the library or just about teaching them the foundations of reading. Those things are very, very important. But the thing that we want to always remember is that we want to empower them to become owners of their learning. And when they own the learning, make sure we're there to support and to scaffold in whatever way they may need us in that literacy piece of their lives.
Most definitely. And Dr. Nelson has stated that Vashti Harrison, a Black female author, published a beautiful picture book, Big, that speaks to the topic. So we'll definitely check that
Thank
out.
you, Dr.
Yes.
Nelson.
Thank you. And the last part is leadership, and we only have 1 minute left. Once we find out this information, we've made people aware, and we are checking where we are with our accountability measures. We're looking at the data. Once you find out that this is maybe a problem in some areas, some people may be handling it better than others, but if there is an issue, as leaders, we cannot cower from having the conversation with people about how to correct the problem. Sometimes we see the data and we know certain things that are happening in our schools, and we'll go out, to the faculty meeting and make these blanket statements. Blanket statements are good in some instances, but in instances where you're looking at specific data, you need to go to the person. You definitely have to have the right messaging. You have to have some things in the tank before you are taking some withdrawals and having some corrective criticism. So, you have to make sure you've laid the foundation to be able to coach people in this area. But
and that's a good thing for adults and for kids. And the only thing I'll say, and for the sake of time, is if we could just be the model, be that her that some young lady can look to say, oh yeah, I know that I can be who I'm supposed to be because I'm looking at Dr. Taylor. I know I can do what she's done because she's done it. Make sure you're her for some young lady, and make sure they know that, baby, I've been where you are. I know the struggles that you face. I know what could be before you, and be her so that somebody feels like I can do this because you did it.
Exactly. And continue to build our sisters. That's another thing that we have to do as well. And we have to be the model of letting our young ladies see us build and affirm one another as we are affirming them, so they take on those habits as well.
Yes, love that.
We are at our time. We are going to we're gonna have to go back and watch you, Principal Kafele, because if we don't run out and get on this plane, we're gonna be looking for where you stay at in New Jersey, because we're gonna be stuck in New York. So
you're gonna be catching a ride over the weekend. But we will try to catch you some in the Uber on the way to the airport. Thank y'all so much. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day.
Most definitely. Thank you, guys.
And she could hurry up.